I mean, I look at the cost now of just getting to F2, and it's astronomical. Like compared to what I used to, even when I raced, I stopped racing stopped single seater racing in 2013, and it was about 1.2 mil euro to get a seat in Formula 3.5 or like Renault Formula 3.5 or like Formula 2.
And that's what you have to stump up as a driver, be that through sponsors or just through,
just money that you have.
Yeah, exactly. Whereas that's now the cost of an F3 drive.
Is that a season?
That's a cheap one. F3 is like 2 mil.
Yeah. Like that's one season as well.
Yeah. It's just eye-watering, and it's such a barrier, I think, to so many people out there, and but
do you think can we get those costs down? Because obviously you've got to pay for personnel, you've got to pay, like, it will always be expensive, motorsport, inherently.
Yeah.
But like, is this just what we have to just accept it, or is there a way of getting this down, do you think?
I think we're finding this kind of the boom of F1 is working against itself in terms of the feeder series, right? Because it's become so popular they can start charging these premiums on drives and stuff, and it just is what it is. I mean, it's motorsport at the end of the day. It is expensive. It's not like you just go into JD Sports and get yourself a pair of football boots and go and kick a ball around. It's not that. Like, you got to have a load more kit just to put on your person, and then you got to get a car. Just to gear yourself up to actually get in the car.
So much risk.
Yeah,
it's so risky.
That's the thing as well, isn't it? It's like, how do you explain to like your family, I need like 600 grand to go and do like one season in a championship that's like 4 rungs down a ladder from Formula 1.
Yeah.
Or you can go play or you can go kick a football against a wall.
It's some shin pads, mate. There you go. It's like
that's what, like, obviously, like, I love motorsport. I love racing. I want to see a bigger variety of people being able to get into it, but also there must be this, for everyone who makes it, there's countless drivers who don't. And when I say makes it, that's not even to F1, just having a career as a racing driver. But there must be so many people, again, when I hear about like Esteban Ocon's story, when, his family sold the mechanics and they just motorhome, drove around with their dog, drove around Europe, going to karting events. If Esteban doesn't make it, if he doesn't become a racing driver, God forbid what happens with the family because they've sold their home. Like, there must be so many stories like that. So part of me is like, it's great to push it, but also the risk, if it doesn't pay off, is so much higher than, I don't know, just putting your time into going football. And all right, maybe you got a parent who drive you to some matches, like, a couple of hours away or whatever.
Yeah.
But the loss doesn't seem as severe that you have to take on to actually put your kid through motorsport. And like you say, I don't think that's going to change.
No, exactly. And I mean, when I was racing as well, I mean, I started in 2006, 7 because
Was that in karts?
Karts. Yeah. Well, I did it. Well, I sneer at it. It was great. I did a year of Club 100, which is if you want to go karting.
Steve does that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If you want to go karting for a good budget and get some good competition, like, it's the best thing in the world. Like, they don't change the tires all year. So I've been out on sleet and snow and it's on slicks, and Wilton Mill, and it's like you're clinging onto the thing. But then I got into a race car, and it rained for the first time, put wets on. I went out. I was like, this is fantastic. I got so much grip. I can actually drive this thing. So it's I started racing in 2007, say, like, for cars, and did various different single seaters on the way up. I ended up in European Formula 3, and the whole way through, you're going like, it's privileged, right? But you're kind of pointing at everyone, going, we're all privileged. We're going motor racing. It's not like I know people who I raced against who worked their arse off to stump up enough cash for the next race, and that was it. And then they have to do it all again. And like, I've got like the utmost kind of respect for that now, especially now as well, because I know how difficult it is. Like, at the time, I don't think I really knew that was how difficult it was. I thought, you'd be good at, you I can drive car good, you know. So I drive car good. You give me a fast car, that's it, you know. So it was a lot of growing up I did in that kind of period. Like I know it was when I was still 15, you know. But
yeah, of course. You can only have your own perspective on the situation. And so you got to Euro F3.
Yeah.
What was your particular races memorable? Best performance, worst performance?
Well, I actually did half the season and then I called it there because I was like, I just wasn't enjoying it anymore. Really?
Right.
No, I know it sounds really like kind of what's the word? Kind of ungrateful, but it is true. I just wasn't kind of. It wasn't. I hadn't grown up in the thing. It's not as stupid as it is to say. Like, I mean, having my dad and my granddad, we were still kept from it, you know?
Yeah.
I wasn't kind of like shoved into it like some other people are from a very young age. So I was actually sheltered from it. So, but yeah, so I did a good race in Hockenheim. I think it was round 20 or something like that. I don't know, can't remember. But overtook if you know Hockenheim, the fast sweeper coming into the stadium section. I think it was Lucas Auer and Tom Blomqvist were fighting up ahead of me, and I saw them kind of going near side to the inside to the corner. I went, I'll have them here. So I've been sat in fourth for days. So I was just like out of fifth place for days. So I was I'm getting bored now. So yeah, and then suddenly something happened. I was like, oh hello, and they defended. They defended each other and then ran wide onto the exit onto the grass sort of Velcro strip or whatever they had back there, and I nipped up the inside, cut back, and kind of took them both before the hairpin, and that was like FIA overtake of the year or something like that. So I was quite proud of that one. So I was quite happy with that. So and that was a podium as well. So
nice.
So I was, and I'd had a pretty rough start to the year because again I was kind of it always just felt to me like I was having to start from day dot every single time I started and got in a new car. Because I'd missed out on the sort of really young stage of driving where you just becomes natural. You can jump in a car and just like it's breathing, you know. Yeah. And you're the sort of the finer things that you can adjust. But I needed to kind of like really learn a car to really then be fast in it. Once I did, I was fast. You know, I don't have any problem saying that. I was quick, but it took me a while to kind of get to that point, and that was always kind of by the point that I was kind of done with that category and then I move on. So it never kind of materialized into some really really good results, unfortunately.
That realization that like you weren't enjoying it and you wanted to knock it on the head, was that quite a sudden realization, or had that been kind of growing for time? And like, how did you go about being like, I'm done now? Because that's quite a kind of brave call to make, that you're like being, honest with yourself that like, this isn't for me.
Yeah. I think, I mean, I've always been quite honest with myself. I think but then you always have to kind of like just get your head down sometimes and just push through it. But it wasn't just that I was going through a bad patch at that point. I just wasn't enjoying the whole thing, right? I like the racing. I like turning up to the weekend and going racing and wheel to wheel people. That was enjoyable to me. But the rest of the whole thing, I just wasn't kind of clicking with. It wasn't. It sounds really stupid, but like it wasn't me, right? It wasn't what I was, and I'm competitive, but I'm not kind of like in your face competitive.
And the thing is, racing itself is such a small part of the overall that's the finished product.
It is 1% of what you do. That's what no one tells you. If there's a young go-karter out there and you want to go karting, it is literally 1%. Once you get out of karts, you are going to be racing in a car for 1% of the time you are a racing driver. That's why all the drivers in F1 just can't. You can see they're just dying to get back in the car. They don't want to do all the press stuff. They don't want to do all the extra stuff. They just get in the car.